VeeFam, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the VeeFam Sessions. My name is Mr. Messer, but you can call me Rob, and I am thrilled, super honored to be here today with artist, musician, creator, just like overall widely talented human being, the one, the only, Mr. Ed Balloon. Ed, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. Thank you so much for getting me on here. I know it's been a struggle, but I'm glad we were able to make it happen.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm happy to
I
be here. Shout out to V Friends. How y'all doing?
am so happy that you could carve out some time to be here. Obviously you hit my radar a few years ago, VeeCon, but very interesting story. You have your hand in so many different things, and I'm excited because we have a really VFriends has been doing a great job of bringing people that aren't Web3 native into this world, and they're kind of getting red pilled through some other things like the physicals, cards, collectibles, the cartoon, and then they're learning like how do I really get into this thing, NFTs, and it goes on, and they start to learn about Web3. So I'm really excited, to share some stories with the people that really grew up through Web3. But before that, I always like to start by going to the way beginning. So if you don't mind giving us the 55-second cliff notes on who Ed Balloon is before you even heard the word Web3.
I always wish it's 55 seconds. It's so much longer than that. I
I
can
know
go
it's
on.
an unfair ask.
I need to, yeah, it's good. I'm gonna try. And if I can't, just cut me off. Um, so I've been a musician for about coming right now since like 10 years now. But prior to the Web3 and how I jumped into it is because, we all know COVID. And so prior to COVID, I moved to LA and, I was pursuing music and was able to get on my first tour that was going to be like, all over. And I felt like it was going to change my life and 2020 happened and we were supposed to go on tour in March and that was when the shutdown happened. So it was canceled and everything was canceled. And I was like, God, why would this happen? And during those years, it was more about like trying to figure it out. And in those years, it was me going from, just seeing myself as a musician, but then also like finding interesting, tapping into other mediums. And I came across falling in love with stop motion and this character, which ended up being Edby the Puppet and doing things with that. And then trying to like, figure out a world for that character while also still doing music. And then 2021 happens, I get COVID, and then I find myself going down a rabbit hole and entering Web3. And so all
And here
those
you are.
things, I guess, God has his way of making things happen because my knowledge in music and then also this craft or this character that I started to build, um, kind of found its way into Web3 and it was able to allow me to use that as a vehicle to continue on to build my brand and, these characters and as well as this world that I've been trying to build for a very long time. So that's kind of how I got into Web3 and then how I started to like also, continue on to do things and show my art and to come, use the tech and to see the empowerment of the tech with, builders and artists on it and the movements. And I was like, I want to be a part of this. And that was kind of how the Web3 and Ed B and Ed Balloon came about in
I
Web3.
love that, and great job, really uh, summarizing that, because there is a lot
It's a
there.
struggle. It's just every
You
time, I
crushed
don't
that.
know what's going to come out, but
You crushed it. I want to go back a little further. 'Cause I read something interesting, and I'm personally a little bit about me. I've been, I grew up as an educator. I'm like educator, marketer, elementary teacher, the whole thing. And I read that you first at 9 you realized that you wanted to take up music, but you didn't really pursue it until college. So I'm interested,
yeah.
there truth to that? And I'd love to peel back the layers of that, because that is a story as old as time, for a variety of different reasons. But I'd love to hear your take on that.
Yeah, wow. Thank you so much for doing that research. I actually did start I fell in love with music at age 9 and then I think it mainly came from me being in Texas that summer and only hearing music. And only hearing music and only being around music, like uh, we were left in the house and all we had was like music. And so I think I would find myself like, imagining and, singing and learning how to like kind of understand melodies that way. And then of course church and stuff like that. But that kind of was is it the blue pill or the red pill? Whatever. That got me, hooked. But and then also going back, coming, back to Boston and seeing like, oh, I want to like really do this. But yeah, I did not pursue it fully. And I mean, I don't think that's actually fully true. So I was, I grew up, I have Nigerian parents um, and, I grew up pretty poor. So, um, they what they wanted, I mean, they wanted the best for me. And I would say mostly like my dad, right? Like my mom was, I would say she was someone who was like, yeah, go for your dreams.
Hmm.
But also like, hey, if it's not working out, I don't know. But my dad was like, hey, there's no money in that. Um, like there's no money in that, don't do it. And so I think that kind of discouraged me. But I also I'm the middle child, as I am now happy to, say and stuff. And they say middle children are rebellious. And so I would, I would I got a job and I would pay for my singing lessons and I would still do things and I would write songs on the side and it wasn't until, and I would say not even in college, it wasn't until after college really, because it was in college, like my senior year, when I missed my, they had a career special, like a career day where you were able to like find the jobs and stuff. And I missed it. I either overslept or something and I
Oh
missed
no.
it. And I had to go see the career specialist and she was supposed to help me with my resume. And and we were talking and she saw like all the courses I took were in the arts. And she was like, man, and I was like telling her that, yeah, I want to apply to like law schools and law internships. So, let me do this. And honestly, I was trying to be I was trying to be a little scammy because I was trying to take a good amount of that money because my sister was working at a law firm. And I was like, you know what? If I can get paid this money, I can work for this law firm for like free and use this money to like for singing lessons and production and all these things. So clearly God was like, nah, that's not how it's gonna happen. But talking to this career specialist, she was definitely like, hey, you really should like and invest or like really take your time to pursue music and the arts because it's something that you love.
Hmm.
And I was like, well, it made me smile a little bit, kind of cheesy. And I was like, wow, that's the first time anyone really, really told me to do it. Um, and and yeah, that was when I was like, okay, I'm going to really be serious about this and do it. And I had a whole bunch of no sayers, and everyone was like, "What are you doing? Like, you should be going to, be on the law track." I would say like the Ed Balloon that you see now is probably different from the Ed Balloon that was that a lot of people probably saw prior to me jumping into this, and it was more so just like, oh, we saw you as a lawyer, we saw you this way,
Hmm.
and it was me like having to, I guess, inform people that that is a way that I kind of had to show. Not saying I don't have those abilities or whatever, but it wasn't something that I love to do. I was doing it to please others, and that's kind of where the rebellious spirit comes because I'm like, I'm not trying to do anything for someone else. Like,
Mm.
I'm not trying to live for you. I need to live
100%.
for me. But it's very difficult, especially when especially when you have parents like my father, who's like, he was a taxi cab. He is still a taxi cab driver, but did that and did that, for a majority of my life and still doing it, where he had to like, use that to help, help us, his kids. And so when you see that and he's like, hey, I want you to have a better life than I did, right? And you're like, hey, I'm going to do this. He's like, what are you doing? Like, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. And so it was a lot of having to deal with that and having to be okay with the pressures and stuff and
Mm.
the
Yeah,
no
that's
sayers and
challenging.
saying, hey, what makes you different? So it was all those things that I had to like deal with that I still sometimes end up like kind of deal with. But I would say like honestly, you know, loving Jesus and and having good support does push like help you a long way with this journey of being a musician or an artist overall.
Mm. And for context, when it's October 2024 now, when was that decision made when you said, "All right, I'm doing this"?
2020 13.
Okay,
2013, sorry, not 2020, 2013.
2013. So
Um,
so well over a decade ago.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
it's
And
I know
still at it. So
it's
you
crazy
mentioned your
because I, I'm like, wow, like the time has definitely gone by so
you
quickly.
know that it does. So you said something interesting. You said, I'm not the same Ed Balloon that I was back then. And obviously, if you're doing working on any craft for that period of time, you're going to evolve and improve. But as far as your uh, style, and you have a very fresh, unique, and anyway, I'm going to try to plug you as much as I can. But man, like if you guys saw him at VeeCon or just YouTube Ed, like he's got a very authentic, unique, fresh style and vibe, that you can't really. And I know you've said out loud, like I don't put myself in a box. Like that's just how you roll. You're very multifaceted. But I'm curious, were you like that from the get, or were you emulating certain genres or other artists at the beginning, and you've kind of evolved into this, Ed Balloon of 2024?
Yeah, so I've kind of always been, and it wasn't so much about like, oh, you can't like I'm this confident dude, you can't box me. I don't like peeing in boxes. I honestly could never
Mm,
fit in anyone's box. I was just
mm,
not ever able to fit in boxes, and when I would try, I would find it harmful to me. Like if I try to sing like someone, if I try to be like someone else, sound like someone, it wouldn't help me. It would harm me. And so it took a while for me to even understand my power is in being different. Um, and that takes a while. Like that takes some, internal, conversations
yeah.
and asking those tough questions and being okay with who you are. Especially when others are telling you that that's not okay. Right. I think that is one of the biggest things. And so it took a lot of things that I saw was setting me back because I was trying to be like other people or sound like other people, where I was like, okay, I need to just not I can't be like these people because that's not me. So it took a lot of figuring out who I was and what works with me. And that's kind of how with my first EP, when I came up with that music, like my first EP, it was all me, of course, and I mean it's mostly all me, but I was kind of waiting for a moment to like make music because my voice wasn't where it was, and I had like vocal surgery and stuff like that, and um, I just remember I was like at church one time, and the pastor was like, "Use what you got," and that was something where I was like, okay, I'm gonna do what I need to do with what I have, and if that's good enough, then that's good enough. But it's what I got,
Mm,
and that was when it really clicked for me, and it was challenging because I was like, oh, I can't. You having to feel like, oh, you're not good enough, or you don't sound like anybody else, and this was my point. This was my moment where it was like, okay, you don't sound like anybody else. Lean into it. You aren't like anybody else. Lean into it. You don't look like anybody else. Lean into it. And that takes a lot of, it's a process. And some people get it overnight. And for me, I think I'm there, now I'm not there. I think I'm there, and I'm not there. And, you know, and so it really required those internal conversations, prayer for me, and really dope people that I could just talk to and just say, hey, I don't feel like people get it, they understand. And then that's another thing too, people not understanding who you are, and not getting where you are, right? And
mm,
sometimes you're before the trend. And I think that has happened to me a lot of times where I'm before the trend or
yeah.
and you have to be okay with that as well. I've kind of told myself that sometimes it's not even about your product not being good or who you are, like your music or whatever, it's just not good. It's more so about people just aren't there yet or they're not ready yet. And that you have to be okay with that. And sometimes that is kind of hard to take, and I'm still learning that. But
Yeah, no,
um,
and that's a great mindset to keep. They're just not ready. Um,
yeah, sometimes they're not ready. Sometimes. Sometimes you also got to work on that. But like
so it sounds like it sounds like 2020 obviously devastating. Your tour gets shut down, but you had done a lot of internal work, some work on your craft to kind of put you in this great position where now you have this new technology that's super advantageous and opens a ton of doors that nobody even knew were there for artists. And you jumped on it. So bringing you back to that time where you're doing the research, you're probably in spaces and discords and all that, learning about this, like what was going on in your mind, like, or what light bulbs were going off when you were learning about this technology of NFTs and the blockchain and how it can bring this breathe life into artists and musicians and filmmakers, um, and to
yeah.
cultivate the community and to get them their financial resources that they're deserved.
Yeah, I think for me when I got in immediately that was what put like that box checked off. But I was just really afraid of, are people gonna get me? Like that's kind of, it's always like, are people gonna get this? And so for me it was more about building community, which is something that I feel like we've said that so many times in this space. I'm sure people hate the word community, but it really is important. And it's important for those who actually have good intentions. For me, it was like really finding people that understood me or were willing to give me time to, or willing to take the time to understand me and to understand my work, and to understand what I'm trying to achieve being in Web3 and using the technology. And so, um, to be quite honest, I didn't drop. I was in Web3 for like maybe like a good, it sounds long. It wasn't even long, but it felt long. I was in Web3 for like maybe a good like 5 months before I dropped anything. And
So
and people will
that's like a
probably
year in
like
Web3 time.
yeah, like it felt way longer because I was like
Yeah.
on everything. I was in every space. I was talking all the time. I was, doing the things. Um, but I didn't drop because I didn't feel comfortable doing it. Like someone had to tell me, like I was afraid. Someone had to tell me, hey, you know what, you need to do it. Like you need to be able to do it. You need to put your work out there. You are an artist as well. And it was, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And when it sold out, I was like, oh, thank you guys so much. And then, and all those other jobs were successful too. I was like, oh, thank you. I guess I have people who actually like my work. And then I wanted to like use that and build on that and say, hey, well, I'm trying to do a short film. Would like to fundraise for that. Are you guys willing to like support that? And that was kind of how the Run Ed collection came about. Um, uh, when it comes to music, I also like, I think that was like kind of issue that I had being in the space. As I said, I like to, I guess I want to, I've always been this person too, where that I would do anything that allows me to express myself fully, as a creative, or artist. And so me doing Ed Be the Puppet, a lot of people just like, oh, you do music. And so I kind of had to let people know that I did both. And so I would do things with Ed Be the Puppet where he's singing.
Mm.
Or I would just also do my own, projects that came out with the music. But I think also in the beginning stages, the space was not, it still isn't fully there yet, but it was very, 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 in the beginning stages of like music and music on blockchain. So it was I mean, I think now you see way more music projects than in 2021. There were like one or two, like very, not one or two, but it was very, not as many. And so yeah, like I kind of had to like let people know that I do both. Um, but
Mm.
overall, like I think just using the tech has helped me I wouldn't even only say like using the tech, the culture in itself has helped me see myself as see my value a little bit more. I think as an artist outside of this space, it's always been difficult. I was like, oh, you're an artist, you can't do this, or you know, you
Yeah.
need to stay in your lane. And so coming to Web3, where we're artists, we're traders, we're collectors, you know, memers, with these just people who we're just here.
Right.
You pretty much can have anything. Who's telling you that you can't be a founder? Who's telling you that you can't do those things, right? You, we're out here
Bingo.
building.
Yep.
I think overall, like we're builders. And so when you realize when you have that title, it's very difficult for you to ever go back to the person that you were saying, oh yeah, I'm just an artist. I can't do that. Or I'm not good enough. Or I can't reach to the other side and have conversations. I think being in this space has allowed me. I'm not that tech savvy. Maybe I am more than others now because I've been in Web3 for some time. But uh, it has allowed me to, it has given me a good amount of confidence to talk to people and to learn things and to see how people think and how to get the ball rolling to make products work and to make connections work and community work. I think that is that is kind of what I've learned in Web3 and kind of how it's been helping me as a musician, as an artist overall, which I think has been beneficial to my career, and I think it would be beneficial to other artists as well who are not in the space to see how important it is to like learn other skills.
Mm, I love that. Community has come up a few times, and it was a word that was thrown around carelessly at
It
times
was.
in those days. But you and I saw a clip of you, and we've seen this time and time again where people, sell out a collection or do well or create a bag and then they give it back. They support the people that supported them in their ventures, and that that's what true community is. Like that's one of my bullet points in my definition of it. Um,
Yeah.
but curious, what does that word even mean to you? Community.
Community to me has always meant um, a movement, a movement for the people, like people who are in alignment. That's kind of what I saw when I came to Web3 immediately. It was like, oh, we're in alignment. We're together. Like we're banded. Like this is what it is. And that's kind of and that's kind of what it means to me. I'm not kind of that's what it means to me. Because I feel like when you see it like that way, then you want to make sure that it is only growing and continue on to move and progressing. You don't want that to ever stunt or to stop. And so when it comes to community, it's more about how do you make sure that you're growing, but also people in your community are growing. What does that look like? What do you need to do? How are you feeding each other? Um, how do you make sure that you guys are all in alignment?
Mm,
How do you tap into like and that's kind of what I do. Like I'm also in a space, but I also see people who tweet things and stuff. And if I know you, if you're someone who is like in my community, in my circle, like I am hitting you up in the DMs asking if you're okay. Like I don't go on the tweets and say hey yeah whatever. I just hit people in the DMs sometimes like hey are you good. um
yeah.
and that's something I just do. I feel like I'm always called to like hit people up, um, because I feel like I'm wondering if people are doing the same thing. And it doesn't have to be. I know that that's just something I have to do. But that's those are things that I feel like people in communities do. You hit people up, you check on them. I think for me, it's more than just a transactional relationship. Um, uh, it's really finding your people who really want to like your supporters, people who really want to see you win, and you want to see that for them as well. Like my win is your win.
Mm,
So that is the hope. That is kind of what I see still, even though I feel like there are some people that have destroyed um, the beauty behind that
yeah.
term.
Sure.
But I would say that is kind of what I look towards when I say community and what I hope for.
I love it. That's a beautiful, beautiful definition. So just out of
Thanks.
fun curiosity, were you um, just kind of staying in your lane, as we say, working on your craft, doing your own thing, or were you trading? Were you day trading as well? Trying to get some bored apes, flipping them.
You know, I think we all have our gifts. I am not good at trading. I'm not the I don't know how. Some people are blessed to do it. I'm just not that good. And
I'm with
I
you.
don't
I'm
know
sitting
if
at
it's
the
because I
same
don't have
table as
the
you.
yeah, I just people have can sit at the computer or they can just, I can't people are really good at just knowing what to do. I can't. So I just, focus on the art. But some days I'm like, let me just try it. And it'll be just recently I was like, I'm gonna try the meme coin and it didn't work. I was
I
like,
get
I
burnt
should have
every
just
time.
listened and
Yeah.
I should have
Um,
just, listened to myself and just said no. But there are people who are able to do it and shout out to them. Maybe next month it'll work out for me. It didn't work out for me this month or the month before or the month before that. But we'll see. So
well,
yeah, overall, no, I
we're
didn't
cut from
trade
the
as
same cloth,
really good at.
you and I, in that regard. Um, when and you may not remember, but when was the first time you remember hearing the name Gary V?
So Gary Vee is a popular man. So I've kind of heard his name before Web3, but if you would have told me that, I would have known him or gotten close to him. Actually, crazy enough, I still have yet to see Gary Vee in person. Like,
Really?
which is we just have not ever been in the same room,
Oh,
but we've
interesting.
talked to each other. We've been
Yeah,
on FaceTime, but I've never like I have yet to be with him IRL because he's always busy, and then I think with my chances to see him, I'm just not in the vicinity. So
interesting.
so yeah, but I would never have thought that I would have been able to work with him ever.
Hmm.
Like I don't think that would ever our paths would ever have come across. Like that was never something in my yeah, this is gonna happen. Absolutely not. So
So
when it
yeah,
happened, I was like, oh wow.
I'd I'd love to zoom in to the timeline of this because we're talking about Web3. And I've talked to many people. It's obviously you're going to get the same feeling from people inside this VeeFriends universe that VeeCon is the mega conference. It's the thing. It's the Super Bowl. But I've talked to enough on the record and off the record of people that are generic Web3 people and say VeeCon is it. Like that no one does an event like VeeCon. And you had an unbelievable collab where you were the artist on the VeeCon 2023 ticket. And that's
Yeah,
I don't want to misspeak, but that's Ed B the puppet, correct? Is that who
that
that's
is that'd
supposed
be
to?
the
Okay,
perfect, correct.
Okay. So for the
Yeah.
record,
That was that'd be the
Ed B
perfect.
the
I mean,
puppet featured on um on the 2023 VeeCon ticket. I need friends. Music, motion, really cool drop. And it wasn't dropped till after VCon, but I'd love to go to the beginning of the story and to see what was the origin of that relationship and, you know, collab.
yeah. Yeah, how did I? Yeah, so Gary. So Gary actually he holds like some run eds. So shout out to him being a collector. But I think did he hit me up or did I hit him up? I think he hit me up. It's weird because me and Gary have been in the DMs. When he bought my first like my Run Ed collection NFTs. I'm like, oh, thank you so much. And then I think I wanted to do some. Okay, no, I wanted to go to VeeCon. I was like, hey, I want to go to VeeCon. He's like, yeah, let's make it happen. And so I went to VeeCon. It was 2023 VeeCon, I think. I went
In
to.
Indianapolis. In Indy?
Yeah, there we go. I went to VeeCon in Indianapolis, and I was so like amazed at how awesome it was. Um, and I think I saw Andy. I saw Andy, and he's like, "Yeah, we have to do something." And I was like, "Okay, sure." I didn't know what they meant, and then they hit me back up, and they're like, "Hey, we want you to do the ticket," and I was like, "Oh man, great!" And so they were like, "What do you expect? What are you trying to do?" And I was like, "I will get back to you." And I really wanted to sit down on this and think about it. And I remember I had this song called "I Need Friends," and I was like, "Wow, what a coincidence!" And I said,
Mm,
"I have this song "I Need
okay.
Friends" that we never dropped," and I was like, "V Friends." I was like, "Oh man, this would be amazing." And I was like, "Well, they allow me to like make this into like a little small music video with Ebby the Puppet singing." And I told them my idea, and they're like, "Absolutely, we love it." And so, and then I think that's kind of where I'm like, oh, I really do appreciate it because they gave me, free, they gave me artist control to just do whatever I wanted, and that was something that I really appreciated, because it allowed me to just get my bag and say, yeah, this is what I want to do. Um, but when we did it, I don't think any of us expected the song to be, loved by so many, or the community of V friends to be so like hyped about the song. But they loved it and loved the music video, and so I was like, okay, I'm so happy that this was something that the community like really enjoyed. So that was a win for me.
That was that's really really cool honor, and well deserved. Uh, but super interesting that you go to this event, just wanting to go and experience it, and I'd love to ask, dig deeper into that in a second, but and then you leave and you end up being the ticket on
Yeah,
the actual
yeah,
event.
no,
That's
it's
wild.
it's it is. I think it's because I'm also, I'm very like, hey, this is fun. I want to do something. Or like I'm just like I think I'm very like kind of very open when like, hey, I like this. We should
Yeah,
do something. And maybe I don't say it all the time, but my vibes kind of give it off.
right, sure.
Um, yeah, and I think Andy kind of picked up on that. I also just really enjoyed being at VeeCon in Indianapolis. I think when I went there, and that was something I was like, oh yeah, I think if you don't know, if you haven't been to VeeCon, you should go because then you are able to understand. If you're not able to understand it, VeeCon will help you understand it. And I don't think it was
Mm,
so much about me not understanding it before, but VeeCon definitely was like, okay, this all makes sense. Like if you don't understand it, come to VeeCon. Um, and and I just remember just being there and just I was really appreciative of the space that Gary Vee, gave to artists, to the V Friends community, just everyone being there. It just felt like everyone was represented. It felt like a good space. It felt good. It really did.
mm,
They didn't seem like there was like it didn't feel like there was any barriers. And that was something where I was like, oh wow, like how are you able to do this? Like I think I've been to like other conferences where they haven't been able to do this, and it is, and of course if it's to be anyone to do it, it would be Gary Vee, who has a really you know good network, someone who understands those who are in Web3, those who are not, just has a good understanding overall, and so it made sense that he's the one that is doing things like this.
sure.
But I think it can kind of sometimes, or maybe back then, like it I didn't fully see it until I was there, and I was like, and that's probably why I was like the whole time like this is I'm just like
I
wow,
like that.
like and I'm like, oh, this all makes sense, and it was I just I also just think that it, it was just a good time. Like the thing about it is it's like, oh, it's so positive and things like that. And yes, like it really was that. It really was a positive time and moments, and I think as people in Web3, especially during 2023 when it was like the bear market and stuff like that, to like have that, it was good to be a part of it and to be there and to see others, and it just felt like a good moment, and I'm still appreciative of being able to go both times, and really appreciative of him just being able to like, come with that idea and present it. And so I would say shout out to the V Friends community for adopting me and welcoming me in. I I'm very thankful for that experience because VeeCon was something where I was like, oh wow, this is a really good experience, and I'm just really happy that I was able to like be a part of it.
Mm. Yeah, so you go from that to opening. You were the opening act at in 2024 in LA. So, back to back cool feathers in your cap, but just comparing, obviously you shared how you felt about the first one. Uh, Me and many others agree. Like it's just a vibe. Um,
Yeah.
but here comes a mainstream city, home city for you. You've already been there, done that. Did you still get the same type of vibes, or was it totally different here too?
So it was. I mean, I would say like because it is the main city. I would say like I was also because if it was like another place like in the middle of nowhere, you're forced to be there. I had other things still to do, so like I
Mm,
had to like be there and like kind of have to go. So I would say that someone who was just like performing there, I had that experience to perform, which I am beyond um, thankful, like just to be able to be the opener and open up and the doors for VeeCon and have people see me perform. But I would say honestly, I didn't have the opportunity to be in VeeCon as much because I'm kind of on the west side of LA, so
mm,
you know, and traffic, all those things like made it very difficult to get back. So I would say like my experience probably wasn't as good as the first time of me being there, but
got
I
it.
do think I'm sure it was amazing because when I was there, how it was structured, I was like, oh, this is cool. I need to be able to come back again. But every time I try to get back, I would just always miss the panels, or I would miss certain things, and I'm like, oh man. So I kind of am upset about not being able to be there. Like I was there the year prior to. You were there though. How was it? I'm sure it was amazing. Was it?
Fantastic. And just for full transparency, I had fun. I had a couple running jokes where I was on the panel after you, so my claim to fame was that Ed Balloon opened for me. Um,
Oh,
I could put I could put that on my resume. But no,
you
it
can't.
like it was awesome. But in the macro, like Minnesota, like we were the thing there. Like
Yeah,
that was what was happening. Indianapolis, we were the thing. LA, like we were lost, we were just this little itty bitty convention in LA. So it was very meta in the sense of like how young this whole thing still is. Whether you're talking
yeah,
about VFriends or Web3, any of it, like it was a cool just kind of metaphor for like we think we're growing, it's year three, but like we're still
yeah.
seedlings.
And that's okay though. Like I feel like you guys
Oh
are
yeah,
a niche but big community. Like it's a niche but very very powerful community. And that is a dope thing to have.
totally. But super super cool. Like I'd never been to the Peacock Theater or any of that stuff, so it was a real vibe. And Gary hit it, and they probably talked to you about this with the whole I need friends thing. Like a couple years ago, or maybe around 2023, they started this mantra of like strangers becoming acquaintances, acquaintances becoming friends, friends becoming
Mm.
family. And Gary, like in his opening VCon one, like he hinted at the fact like by year three, like people would be family, like in this community, and like it just played out. It couldn't have played out more true than it did. So like
Yeah,
year three in LA, like it didn't matter where we were, like the community was gonna bring it and like have the best time no matter
yeah,
what.
and I think I love that. I think what I love is that the community, you guys, it doesn't matter what anyone says outside of it. It's like, oh, this is what we're about, and that's how you know it's a real community. Like where oh no,
Mm,
we know what we're doing. We know what we're talking about. We know what we're about. If you don't know what we're about, that's okay. You can learn. You can come in and join. Where doors are open, but noise out there is not going to disrupt what we're doing in here, and that's kind of what I love about the V Friends community. It
totally.
has this very strong, you know, it's just you guys are glued. It's good. It's something that I feel like a lot of communities wish they had. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I'm be honest. I saw being invited and welcomed by the V friend community. I'm like, okay, this is a different type of community. This is a real very like strong communities that people are like, oh, this is what we mean. This is kind of what we
Mm,
want. So yeah,
yeah, and well deserved, and you've definitely etched yourself into VFriend's history there, um, and we're happy for it.
honored.
Before a couple few things before we hit our last segment here. Um, a lot of people, we talking about Twitter. A lot of people uh, tear each other down. There's a lot of negativity out there, but I always like to ask people real quick, and I know it's tough to pin one person down often, but if you had to blow the whistle on someone in a positive way, give roses to someone, who is it? Maybe someone that helped you early on in your career, uh, you know, you, or maybe just someone that held the door for you yesterday. I don't know, or anything in between.
Say she doesn't get enough love, and I'm going to give her love. Her name is Trish. Trish was one of the first people I met in Web3, and she's still my friend to this day. But she has been someone who's has found ways to help artists without taking any credit or. And she's not the only one, but you said I can only name one, and I don't feel
Mm,
like people talk her up enough. And I want to be that one to say, hey, Trish is someone who has definitely opened doors for people. Even if the door closes right in front of her face, she's like, "No, you go in." And so I want to shout Trish. There's more though, so I don't want if anyone
I
sees
love
this,
that. I
know
know
that I did
another
not
unfair
forget.
question.
Okay,
Another unfair question. I know. Um, yeah, we'll get our handle. Shout out to you, Trish. And then another question I like to ask people, and I don't know uh, your level of knowing the V Friends character, so we don't need to. I usually ask, what character do you need to spend the most time with? But if you're if you're not as familiar, we could just go with traits. Do you need to hang out more with Patient Pig? Do you need to have Gratitude Gorilla? Do you need to be more grateful? It sounds like you're very grateful. Organize the ostrich. What trait and or character we'll figure out. Do you
I
Ed need
think
to spend more time with?
I hate this word patience.
Mm,
So I need to
Patient
I need
Pig.
to have some time to sit with patient pig because I'm very not patient. But I'm always forced to be patient, which makes me less patient. And so yeah, I don't know how patient pig does it, but I need to be like them.
I love that. Think
So
another.
I need to sit
I
with
think
him.
I think all
Uh,
of us need to have at least a few minutes a day with Patient Pig. Um, so before we hit our last segment, one, I just want to say thank you again.
oh, thank
Super
you.
thrilled to jam and finally connect and meet you. Super talented and just watching your stuff and now hearing your story and getting more context, it's even that much more meaningful. Um, because
Thanks.
you're super talented, and I just love the way that you're just so authentic to yourself. And like you said,
I
like
appreciate it.
the noise
It's
doesn't
been
matter.
hard trying to be.
The noise doesn't matter, and you're just gonna do you. And I love that. And I know, I don't know, but I have a feeling like that's what Gary and Andy and the crew saw in you. So thank you for taking your time to document your story here. And with that, what are you working on now? Like what could we check out? What can we plug for you?
I am currently working on a music competition that I'm, hosting. Trying to, have artists in the space. When it comes to our music, have our music be seen more and taken seriously. So I'm doing that with a blockchain layer two called Forma. I'm also kind of working on another thing for musicians as well, which require a little bit more work. Can't talk about that yet. It's still in the building stage, but we'll try to get to that soon. So yeah, that's kind of where I am right now. And I might do another drop here and there, but I think I'm seeing you know, where my mind goes, I guess. I think right now I'm really focused on trying to help the space when it comes to finding um, better ways for people to, whether it's listen to music or interact with musicians through blockchain.
I love it. I love it. All right, real quick, if you have time, I'd love to do our last quick segment here. It's called Micro Macro
Yeah.
Spitfire. So I'll rattle off a whole bunch of questions really quick, and you can answer very general in the macro, yes, no, or one word answer, or you can get your microscope out and elaborate why you're answering what you are. All right.
Okay.
So here we
Yeah.
go. Micro Macro Spitfire with Ed Balloon. Here we go. Ed, favorite teacher you had growing up, and one reason why?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This is hard. I don't know if I can do this. Okay, favorite teacher or can it be a professor too? I had awesome teachers
Yeah.
in high school, so it's hard. Um, I'm gonna say my favorite professor who told me that I have the gift of hard work, which I was really
What's
upset with. But then as I got older, I'm like, okay, fine. This is my gift.
you
If this is
you
a gift,
appreciated it?
you know. Yeah. He said I
That's
working
amazing.
hard could be a gift. And I'm like, how is that possible? And then as I got old, I'm like, oh, I guess it is. And I'm like, okay. So shout out to Professor Lee.
A secret talent you have that most people don't know.
I want to feel like I have the talent to like kind of not say read like like a psychic, but I feel like I have this talent.
An intuition.
Yeah. I think that's kind of it, but that I could be wrong, but sometimes it's wrong. So I don't know if it's I don't know if it's a talent. I'm just gonna say that but I feel like all the talents I do have, people kind of know, and if I don't, like if they don't know, it's because I don't know yet. So this is a hard question
I love.
too, but yeah.
All right. If it became illegal to own or to have more than one social media platform, and you could only keep one, which one would you keep?
I guess it's going to be X because and Twitter because I was always on Twitter and I it's this thing about just being on Twitter. I'm used to
Culture.
posting. Yeah, but yeah,
Uh,
that's because there hasn't been an awesome another platform that I feel is better than Twitter yet. If that happens, then it'll be that one.
then you're in. Uh, did you collect anything as a kid, and if so, what?
I used to collect albums. Um, I had the Brandy album, Full Moon, Never Say Never album, the CD, sorry, CDs. Um, actually, but then I also used to collect sneakers.
Okay. What
So yeah,
poster?
sneakers.
What poster would we see if we walked into Ed's, 13-year-old bedroom? Whose poster's on the wall?
I never had any posters on the wall. Does that make me vain? I just I just
Oh,
I just I did not care about any posters on the wall. I cared about how, I had sneakers and I had clothes and I had CDs. Yeah, I probably was a little vain.
I love.
Is
Hey,
there is there is there a character vain? Is there a character that's vainful?
no,
Okay.
I don't think so. I'm sure we could, if we peel back some layers, we could get there. Um, did you ever get into flip life? Did you flip sneakers, or do you just collect them?
No, I just would collect
Just
them
collect
and
them.
wear them. I actually loved wearing. One thing about what maybe that's it. Maybe that's the talent. Maybe or some people just like I don't know, but I actually do like fashion and I like putting things together. So
That's
that's
cool.
something. And so like I like and so when it came to like sneakers or whatever, like I actually like wearing the clothes and I like wearing it till the beat up. Um because I don't know. I like to wear these things. So yeah. I never flipped. And I also don't think I even knew about the flip cultures that I didn't care about it. I just cared about wearing the sneakers and the clothes and stuff. Oh,
Respect.
what a life. I'm kind of
uh,
different from that now. I mean, I still like the fashion sense, but like it's not as painful. It sounds so cringe when I'm talking about it. Ah,
oh no, no, you're good. Favorite concert you've ever been to?
wow. Favorite concert I ever been to. I didn't go to the concert, but and I'm gonna just say this is recently, and it probably, but I'm gonna say Kendrick Lamar's concert that he had in LA. I didn't go, but I saw live stream, and I think I wish I was there because it just seemed amazing. Like how I don't know, it just seemed really raw. Um, he didn't need much. It's just like that, and it was I just think, yeah, that was I would say that currently right now that's my favorite. I'm sure there's been other ones, but yeah, that's like my favorite.
Let's go. Favorite city you've ever visited?
New York City.
Wine, beer, or coffee?
Water.
You
I'm not a big fan of wine like that. Not a big. I hate beer. I'm not that okay. I don't hate beer. I don't drink like that. And I think honestly, like, so why I don't drink is because I don't have the palate. It doesn't taste good to me like that. So yeah, it's water. I like juice and water,
all right?
and I'm not a coffee drinker either. So I like tea. I know
Oh,
I'm really complicated. It's just.
hey, that's your truth, man. That's your truth. Uh, how about the couple more? Bougie hotel or hiking and camping in the woods?
Bougie ass hotel. You cannot have me in the woods. No,
Here,
sorry.
here.
I can't. Bougie hotel. You cannot do me in the woods. I can't do it. I mean, but I like it depends. Like so, like I'm kind of afraid of hiking because I'm afraid of the animals that come with it.
Yeah.
But I do like greenery and I like seeing the mountains and the cliffs and stuff. But if you're telling me I have to camp in the woods, that's a problem. If there's like no Airbnb or a hotel nearby, yeah, I don't know if I can do it. So it's the city boy in me. That's where it
I get
comes
it.
in.
I get it. And we'll do one more. When people think back on Ed Balloon and his work and what he did for the space, what do you want them to think about Ed Balloon or say about Ed Balloon?
Wow. I would just hope that they would say that Ed Balloon was someone in the space that was trying to, push boundaries and, not only, you know, I would say knock down doors, like, knock doors down, but keep them down for other artists like me to get through and go through. Um, because there are artists like me who have been here from like 2021 and we're still out here and and it hasn't been the easiest of us being out here, but we do it because not only do we know the difficulties of the world outside of this space, but also like there's other people who can we can be the example for others. And that may sound a little cheesy, but I've been telling people like even to this like day we still have people saying, "Why are you in Web3? Like, what is it?" And I'm like, if you see the industry of today, like it's not that good. Like what I'm saying, like why wouldn't
Mm,
we be out here trying to figure out ways to make it better? So literally, like if anything, that should be what it said. Ed Balloon was with others trying to figure out solutions to help artists.
I love it. Ed Balloon, thank you so much for being here. This was a real
Thank
pleasure. I
you.
can't thank you enough. This was so fun. And yeah, if you're out there listening, Spotify, YouTube, X, Insta, wherever, Ed Balloon, enter, and go down the Ed rabbit hole.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Appreciate you, Ed. We'll talk soon.
All right.